Okay, guys. Today let's see scenario-based questions based on Kubernetes. So you guys try to tell what you feel, so that based on that we can discuss each and every questions. Okay. Let it be an interactive session. Okay. So we have a scenario. So here the application was having some downtime during deployment. Okay. So let the question be like, you deploy a new version of your application, but users, like end users, they report downtime during the rollout. Upon checking, you realize that old parts were terminated before the new parts became ready. What went wrong and how would you fix this? So they are doing some deployment, and while deployment, all the parts are going down at the same time. And then before the new parts comes, the old parts it instantly got deleted. So what could have been done to fix this one?
Okay, there are some updates methods, right? Like a blue, green, and so, like first we create like update the new parts, and then the old ones should gone to
No, for
the host,
example,
right?
what is the scenario here? So they're telling like they have a deployment. Okay. So in case if we have some replicas equal to 6, okay. So we have a deployment. We have a deployment, and inside deployment we will have 6 pods. Okay. So when they try to update, for example, let's consider this as version 1. Okay, version 1, version 1. Everything is version 1. Now you're pushing it to a new version. Okay. So when you're pushing it to a new version, what will happen? It will, all these parts, it will be updated to
New version.
version 2.
Yes.
Okay. So what is the scenario when they were doing the update? So automatically, like all the parts went down. So when all the parts goes down at the same time, then there will be a downtime, right? For example, we have a user who is trying to access these parts. Okay, when all the parts goes down, will we be able to get the response from this one?
No.
Like what will happen? Like if all the parts goes down, how we can avoid this thing? So
We can the blue green methodology we'll be using it, right? So if
uh,
I'm right.
that is
Like
for
one by one, we have to first update one
yeah.
set of pod, and
So
then once that is up, then we have to go with other set of
correct.
pods.
So we have some method called like a rolling update. Okay,
Okay.
rolling update. So what will happen? So we have to define the strategy. Like in case if you are doing some deployment, we have to define the strategy. Okay, strategy means plan, right? So we have to define strategy. So in this strategy, we have to provide the type as rolling update. Okay, so we have to provide the type as rolling update, and then inside rolling update, so here we have to again provide a rolling update, and then we have to define like a max unavailable at a time. What is the maximum number of pods that can be unavailable, and what is the maximum surge it can happen? So if you come here, so we have something called a rolling update. Okay, so if you see here, we can define all this max unavailable and max surge. So what will happen when you do kubectl apply rolling update deployment.yaml, then what exactly happens? It will delete two parts. Like two parts will be creating newly, while other parts it will be serving the old data. So these configurations can be defined using this rolling update. Okay. Nothing, just you have to give another specification. If you see here, they mentioned anything. Okay, if you see here, this is like recreate. This will delete everything and it will try to create everything. 1 second, let me try. Yeah, if you see here, here under spec, okay, under spec, they have given the strategy, okay, and the type is rolling update. And then we have something called rolling update. And then what they have given, so max surge 20% means in case if we have 10 parts, only 2 parts should go down. Okay, out of 10, 20% is like 2 parts only, right? Because of that, only 2 parts will be updated at a time. If you see here, if some 5 parts are running, only 2 are getting created newly and remaining will be serving the traffic. So in this 5, 20% is just only one, right? So one is creating. So similarly, in case if you have to do any deployment in a rolling strategy, you have to update. Okay, under spec you have to give the strategy. Strategy is rolling update, and then under rolling update we can give max surge. Max surge is maximum percentage of parts that can be updated at a time. Okay, so you can do this one so that you will not see this issue. Okay, so that end user will always be served with the traffic. Okay.
Ashok, your voice is breaking.
Okay, is it fine?
It's,
Hello.
Yeah, you are audible, sir.
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine.
Okay, and then next we have another scenario. So pending parts due to node constraints. Okay, your deployment is stuck in a pending state. Okay, like you are doing some deployment and parts are in pending state. So and then when you uh, do like parts indicate like insufficient CPU on all the nodes in the cluster. So what are the steps you will take to resolve this one? So for example, you are deploying some deployment, and then parts are not like it is not coming into running state, and then it is showing us insufficient CPU on nodes. So what are the things you will do?
We should increase the memory
Uh,
nodes.
we can check that limit and request details in the
Correct,
manifest file.
correct. So
So we can increase
so
that.
we have to adjust that resource request so that in case if all the memory and CPU utilization has been completely taken by existing environment, then you have to adjust that resource requests. Okay, so that you will be able to assign new parts. Okay, and then what are all things like other scenarios like okay, this is for insufficient CPU, right? Yeah, in for insufficient CPU, actually we have to adjust the requests. Okay, and then third scenario is pod fails to communicate with another service. Okay, pod in a cluster cannot communicate with another service even though the service is running and its endpoints are correctly configured. What steps will you take to troubleshoot and resolve? Okay, so mm, okay, so what is service? So for example, you will have deployment. Okay, in deployment we will have pods. Pod deployment. In case if we have to access this from outside world, this is like let's consider it as our company, this outside world. So if someone have to access this one, then actually the request has to come to service. Okay, the request has to come to service and service will communicate with the pod. Okay, so in this scenario, so actually pod of the cluster cannot communicate with another service even though the service is running. So the service is running fine. Okay, the service is running fine and the endpoints are configured correctly. So these endpoints which are accessing it is configured correctly. Okay, but like parts are not able to communicate with another service. Like what and all things we can check in to troubleshoot this one?
Like node ports.
Uh,
port
Okay.
detail we can check.
Okay.
So that the- is that properly port forwardings are properly configured or not,
Yeah. Other than
and
that,
the service type, whether it is node port or cluster IP, based on the environment we use the
no,
service
no,
type,
no.
right?
This was configured to be accessed outside. Okay. So obviously it will
Okay,
be
okay,
like load balancer or
Good
something.
answer.
okay, okay.
Okay. Then
So
what do you have to check?
the inbound outbound rules, whether it is configured.
Correct. Yeah. That thing we have to check.
Okay.
Then,
Um, Ingress we need to check.
okay. And mainly, even though the service is running fine, we have to check service as well. Okay. So you can do kubectl get service and then you can check whether it is coming up fine. Okay. Uh,
Okay. Then
and
kubectl describe the service name,
hmm,
the status of the service. We can
yeah,
check it.
yeah, guys. Yeah, these things would be sufficient so that you will be able to find what exactly has gone wrong. Okay. So next scenario, like node goes not ready after update. Okay. Um, like you upgrade the Kubernetes version on worker node. Okay. And after the upgrade, the node shows as not ready. What steps will you follow to bring the node back to the healthy state? So actually we discussed this yesterday, if you remember. We are doing some upgrade on the node and then node goes down and it comes to the not ready state. Okay. So what steps will you take to troubleshoot that one?
Um, is it configured any init container, init pod?
And I'm not talking about pod. I'm talking about node.
Mm, okay. Maybe the
What are the
resource
components
issue.
that will be in node actually?
In
Kubelet,
Node, there are three components: kubelet, kubeproxy, and Docker runtime environment.
Correct.
So we'll check whether the Docker container is running or not, or else.
We have to restart the kubelet. Okay, kubelet, it will be
Okay.
like the owner of that node. Okay, so all the pod creation, deletion, all the activities will be taken care by kubelet. So what you have to do, you have to do like kubelet, it will be installed as a service. Okay, so you have to restart the kubelet. How we will restart the kubelet? We will use systemctl restart kubelet. Okay.
Okay.
So when we do that one, most probably it will try to bring that to ready state. And then otherwise we have to check the logs of container runtime. Okay, we have to check the logs of container runtime, whether container runtime is running properly or not. And then we can do kubectl get nodes hyphen o wide. Okay, so that we will get to know like whether the we are telling like after update, right? So we have to check like whether the latest version is there or it is still in the old version. What is that? We have to check that one. Okay.
So here node update means
No,
so how do we update the nodes?
so for example, in Kubernetes, we will have versions, okay, like version
Okay.
1.30, 1.31, 1.28, 1.29, okay. So every 3 months or 2 months, we will get a new version, okay. So we have to
Okay.
upgrade that to the latest version. Otherwise,
Oh,
it will be outdated and there will not be any support, okay. To do that one, we have to update these nodes regularly.
okay. Okay. Because I understand the concept for pod update and I mean deployment things and all.
Okay.
So when node update in the sense while updating the node inside the pod also will get suffer, right? So how do we mitigate this kind of
No,
downtime?
because when we update the nodes, we will have multiple nodes, right? Not single node.
Yes,
So what we do first before upgrading the node, we have to drain the node. Drain the node means we have to move all the parts which are
all
in
the
node
pods
1
too.
to the another node. Okay.
Okay,
Then we have to update the node 1. Then once the changes are done, then again we have to bring back all the parts to the node 1. which were there previously. Then we have to do
Okay.
for node 2. Then we have to do for node 3, like step by step manner we have to do. Okay, so if you
Okay.
see here,
Okay. Understood.
we have different versions. Okay, 1.31, when it was released, it was released on 24/12/10. Okay, and then we had another version, like 1.30. Okay, so it was released 24/12/10. Okay, what is this?
So what would be
Okay,
the Node OS?
node OS, like it will be like whatever master node you have configured, same one. In case if you are using
Okay. Okay.
RHL, it will be same. Like they are separate VMs. That's it. Nothing
Okay.
different from that.
It is like a platform OS, correct?
Yeah, platform OS.
Okay. Understood.
On the what you are installing this master, same you can use for nodes as well.
Okay.
Can it be different OS, Ashok?
How it will run?
No, I don't
Just
run.
asking, like,
No, no. You can't create with different OSs,
okay,
right? Because if master is on like RHEL and node is on Windows, will it work?
No,
okay,
crash platform, it won't work.
okay, that's it.
So if you see here, we have the versions like this 1.29, 1.30, 1.31. So for each release, we have to update, because if you see end of life, when it is end of life, 28/10/2025. After 2025, 28 November, October, it will not work. Okay. If you see this one,
Okay.
after June, it won't work. After February, this won't work. Okay. After 28 to 2025, it won't work, right? Like after like 2 3 months, then obviously you have to upgrade to this version.
Okay.
So similarly, if new version releases, you have to upgrade. Okay. Okay. And then next scenario. Okay. Data loss after pod restart. Okay. We deploy a stateful application. Example, let's consider as MySQL in Kubernetes without configuring persistent storage. After restarting the pod, all the data was lost. How could you fix the issue?
You mean recover the data or going forward should not happen
Like, what is stateful application?
to ensure that run the desired application.
No. What is the difference between deployment and stateful deployment?
Stateful will be configuring like the system volumes, right? Volume
No.
claims, everything.
So stateful applications are mainly used for deploying any databases or else like Kafka servers. Okay. So all the data which will be stored, it will be in a sequential order. For example, if you create a stateful application, it will have exactly the same name. For example, if a pod is created, it will be like pod 0, pod 1, pod 2, pod 3. It will be in a sequential order. When you create this one, it will be created in order, and when it is deleted, it will be deleted in order. So even if you create a pod and if you delete the pod, the pod which will be created newly will have the same exact name. Okay, so these are like stateful applications. So what will happen in case if you have one pod like pod 0 and pod 1, the data synchronization will be all the pods will have same data. Okay, in case if you have four pods and if you're creating pod 5, this pod 5 it will have exact sync with all other pods. Okay, so if a user is requesting something, if no matter which part serves the data will be like same. Okay, so it is mainly used for all these databases and Kafka servers. These things it will use these stateful applications. Okay.
Okay.
So what is the question in Kubernetes without configuring persistent storage? Okay. So you're not configured the persistent storage. So obviously when you delete the pod, you will lose the data. So what you have to do? So you have to create a persistent volume. We have seen right PVCs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have to create a persistent volume, and then we have to assign persistent volume claim to the deployment under volumes. So when we deploy that one, so obviously the data will be saved there. So even after restarting the pod or deleting the pod, we will be able to access the data.
So in order to avoid this situation, PVC will be the right option. Suppose if you are using the volume without PVC directly accessing from um, the host, then if pod is terminated or pod is restarted, we cannot reclaim the data, right?
Yeah, that is the thing. You can try to
Okay,
create a sample deployment and then you can try to generate some data. You try to restart and check whether that data is available or not. And then similarly, you can create a persistent volume and then you can create a persistent volume claim to the deployment and then try the same thing so that you will see.
okay. Even if pod is deleted, then when we deploy new pod, we can make use of the old
Correct. You
PV.
can just configure
We
this
can.
volume with the persistent volume claim. Just you can give that
Okay,
claim name so that it will work.
okay.
Okay. So we have some crash loopback error due to some misconfigured environment variables. Okay. So a new deployment of your application fails with crash loopback. Logs reveal that application cannot connect to database due to incorrect credentials. So what you will do to resolve that one?
So for authentication, we will update that credentials in secrets, correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay. In
that is
this
the thing.
case, we can resolve the issues.
What we have to do?
So I'll update the credential with in the secrets with the base 64 format.
Hmm.
Then I just redeploy. I mean,
So
apply.
how you will get to know like this is due to credentials issue?
I just describe kubectl describe and the particular pod, or else check kubectl logs. I'll check
Correct.
it.
That's it. That is the answer. So you can do
Okay,
kubectl logs and check for the logs, like what is the issue. Then you can create a secret, okay, with the correct
okay,
credentials, so that this issue it will not come, okay.
okay,
And then we have high latency in service, okay. Users report high latency when accessing an application. Upon investigating, you notice that the application is deployed across multiple pods, okay, but traffic is unevenly distributed among them. What could be the issue and how would you resolve that one? You guys know what is latency? Latency means when you try to access an website, you will get the response lately. Okay. So you're
okay,
investigating and you notice that application is deployed across multiple parts. Like multiple parts are serving the traffic, but it is like unevenly distributed. Like it is not data is not evenly distributed. Okay. So
okay.
how you will troubleshoot?
Mm, in
We
this
should
case,
use the load balancer for a proper
Hmm?
traffic. Load balancer we should use.
Yeah, we can use load balancers. That is correct. And then the
ingress
thing is,
also.
so here we are seeing like unevenly distributed, right? So
Yeah.
unevenly distributed means actually, like for example, you are starting a pod, and before the pod is ready, users will be trying to access that one. Will it work?
No.
No.
No. Once it is ready, then only users will be served with the traffic, right?
Yep.
So how we can configure those things? So we
No
have
idea.
something called readiness probe. Okay. So what does this readiness probe does? So once the pod is ready, then only it will start accepting the data. Okay. Where is this liveliness probe? So if you see here, we have something called readiness probe. Okay. Under TCP socket port 8080. So you know like it may take some time, right? So you are initiating initial delay. Okay. For 15 seconds. So that till 15 seconds, no, it will not accept any traffic. And then it will once this is done, then it will start serving the traffic. Okay. So one thing is you can configure the load balancer properly so that sessions will be properly assigned, and then we can configure these readiness probes. Okay. So that parts will be serving data once the parts are ready.
So this readiness should be configured at a pod level or at service level.
at deployment level. And
Okay, okay.
so these they are configured for pod. So this pod
Mm,
details it will come for deployment, right? So in deployment you have
okay,
to configure these things, readiness probe and liveliness probe as well.
okay.
So we have something like out of memory killed pods. Okay, your pods are getting terminated with OOM status. Logs indicate memory spikes due to high traffic periods. Okay, how would you handle this situation? So
What is that?
why do we get out of memory error?
When the memory is being utilized by container or pods, uh, high.
Yeah. So if all the
So
memory is consumed, then we will get out of memory. Or else, in case if we have some issue with the application, then it will consume all this memory. Okay. So how we can, for example, let's not consider an issue like we get out of memory just like that. So how we can troubleshoot that one? Like what we have to change?
um,
Memory size we have to adjust.
Yeah, like we are under resources, we have to change the resource limit for memory. Okay, we have to change the resource limit, and then how we can check the memory usage in Kubernetes actually. I have not told you guys.
kubectl stats.
No, kubectl stats it will give the statistics.
Okay,
We have kubectl top, just like Linux. We use top command,
okay.
right? So we use
Yes.
kubectl top. Okay, so top it will give the memory utilization. Okay, so we have something called image pull backup during deployment. A pod fails to start, showing image pull backup error. The image is hosted in a private container registry. You recently rotated registry credentials. So what steps will you take to fix this one? So image is hosted on a private container. Okay, let's consider
Okay.
ECR. And then you recently rotated the registry credentials. Rotated means you changed the credentials. So what are the steps you will do to fix this one?
We have to update the secrets,
Yeah,
correct credential, new credential.
correct. So once we update the credentials, obviously it will work. Okay. And then we have some failed horizontal pod autoscaling. Okay. You configured a HPA as horizontal pod autoscaler for your application, but during traffic surge means huge traffic is coming, so the number of pods remain constant, leading to performance degradation. So how we can diagnose? So HPA, what it will do? So when we configure HPA, we can define the minimum and the maximum number of pods. Okay. So that minimum that many number of pods will be configured. In case if traffic increases, the number of parts it will increase. Okay, so but it remains constant, so that performance is degrading. So how we can diagnose and resolve this one?
Mm, but it is getting automatically increase or
No, like we will define a range, okay, in HPA.
yes.
So minimum it will have 2, maximum let's consider it as 10 parts. Okay, but
Okay,
due to some issue it has stuck at 2. Even though traffic
okay,
is increasing, it is not moving ahead.
okay, okay. So it is not getting auto scaled at pod level.
Yeah,
Okay.
so how we can troubleshoot this one? So if you see here, so we are configuring this one like container resources, and then type is utilization. So average utilization is 60. So in case if it crosses 60, then it will try to increase the number of parts. So
Okay.
mm, like based on the percentages, it will increase. So how we can do? Like we can do just like kubectl describe HPA. Okay, so that we will get to know. And then other thing, main thing, like we can use Grafana or Prometheus to check. So if you see here, we have this behavior. Okay, so scale down. So it will not immediately scale up, it will not immediately scale down. Okay, like we should have some stabilizing like cooldown period. So cooldown period is 300 seconds. Okay, policy like percentage value is once it is reached 100%, it has a time of 15 seconds. So once the 15 seconds is crossed, then it will do scale up. Okay, so when doing scale up, it has the stabilization window like cooldown period as 0, because after it has reached 100%, no need of waiting, right? So immediately it will try to create the pods. So it will try to create 4 pods. Okay, so like this you will be able to configure. So stabilization window you can keep, and then based on like what percentage you have to configure, you can configure. And then again for scale down, in case if traffic is less for certain duration, then you can reduce it in certain percentage values. Okay.
Okay, so the configuration seems good now, but still it is not getting scale up horizontally. So what could be the issues? So have you ever faced such issues?
Normally we will not face that issue, but
Okay, okay,
we will have scenarios like normally like CPU and memory hikes. Um,
okay,
During when we perform load tests, so we will automatically try to increase the load using some load generators. Okay, then we will see like all the parts, everything goes up to their maximum, and at what percentage of load how they behave. So based on that we will be testing, and we will be fixing those issues. Okay, it will not come to production mostly. In case if you see production, what you can do, anyway you will have the Prometheus and Grafana, right? You can monitor like which application is consuming more, and then you can do kubectl describe HPA. Okay, so that you will get the details like what exactly issue is there. And then
okay,
we have to check whether that CPU and memory are properly configured. In case if it is not properly configured, then you will see that issue.
okay.
Okay, so and then we have ingress controller, not routing traffic. Okay, we have some ingress controller. Ingress means for incoming traffic. Okay, you configure an ingress resource for your application, but external traffic fails to reach the service. Upon inspection, the ingress controller log shows 404 not found. Error from the requested URLs. What could be wrong, and how will you fix? Okay, okay. Anyway, we have not seen ingress. Let's see, not see this one for now. We have another scenario like persistent volume not bound. Okay, you created a persistent volume claim for your application, but PVC remains in the pending state. The logs indicate there are no suitable persistent volumes available. So what we have to check here?
From node level, we need to check there is any PV allocated um, to the PVC.
No, in the question itself it is clear. You have created a PVC, okay, for your
Okay,
application, but PVC remains in pending state. Okay, the
okay.
logs indicate there are no suitable persistent volumes available. So what is missing here?
Which means the storage class type we need to check, right?
No.
Okay.
So we
You,
need
are you
to,
not able to see here? No suitable
Persistent
persistent
volume.
volume.
yes.
So persistent volume itself it is not there.
Yeah, that's what I said. From node level, we should create a PV, right? Only then we can call from PVC.
Yeah. So first we have to create PV, and then we have to claim the PVC, because if this
Yes,
PV was deleted due to some issue, and if you try to create a PVC, obviously it will
it,
throw.
it
It will
won't
be in
work.
the pending state. Okay.
Okay.
And then other thing is like you can check the storage class whether is there some issue in the storage class. Storage class it depends like for example if you are using some any cloud, so based on that cloud we will have different storage classes. Okay, like
Okay.
you can use whichever storage you want for creating the PVCs, PV and PVCs.
Okay. So persistent volume, like we are creating some storage, and upon that, the volume claim means we are setting up limit, right?
No, so we have this is called storage class. Okay, you create
Mhm.
some storage class. So this storage class, it will not have any limit like 100 GB or 200 GB. It will not have limit, it is like infinity. Okay,
Okay.
so you create PV. Okay, you will create PV, and this PV. So you create PVC1, PVC2, PVC3. So similarly, you can create any number of PVCs based on your application requirements. Okay.
Mhm.
So then you will be doing all those request limits, everything, and then you will be assigning it to the deployment. Okay.
Okay.
Mm, Pod fails due to read-only file system. Okay. Pod running a legacy application logs error log shows errors. Okay. Log shows errors stating it cannot write to the file system. Upon checking, you notice that volume mounted to the pod is read-only mode. How would you troubleshoot and fix?
We have to change the permission for read write.
Yeah, so for volume mount, you have to allow write access as well. Okay, sometimes this happens, guys. Like in case if the volume is only in read mode, then obviously nothing can be written to that, right? So when pod is configured with that one, when some data comes and if it tries to write it to the volume, obviously it will throw error. So you have to make it into write as well. Okay. And then service discovery fails after namespace change. Okay, so let's consider like you have a you are migrating an application from one namespace to the another. Afterwards the pod fails to communicate with each other even though the services are correctly configured. What could be the issue and how would you resolve that one?
If we are migrating, we need to adjust that deployment YAML file with the correct name selector, right? Selector and
So
labels.
this thing is like we will have something called fully qualified domain names. Okay, so services normally how we will configure. So in case if we take a service, so let's consider this as Nginx service. The naming convention should be Nginx service. Okay. Dot namespace. For example, if we are creating a namespace as test namespace and then dot svc dot cluster dot local. So we will be creating the domain name like this. Okay, so for example when we are doing migration, in case if this namespace, for example it is test, right, and due to some issue you have configured it as test1. In case if you are not updating this namespace properly, this service it will not work. Okay, so the service discovery it will fail. So anyway, external users they will be contacting this service only, right? So then it will throw error like this test service is not available. Okay, so this service discovery it will fail. So to resolve that one, we have to update the namespaces properly. Okay, and then we have something called high disk in out input output on node hosting some logging parts. Okay, um, so you are hosting some logging and monitoring parts, and then leading and high disk usage in out is happening and leading to application performance issue. So in case if there are more in-outs and if you are facing this issue, how we could solve this one?
So as usual, I kubectl describe the pods or this kubectl logs pod. So
No, here you are hosting. Logging means logging servers like ELK stack, okay? And
okay,
monitoring parts. Monitoring means Prometheus Grafana. So
okay,
it's experiencing high disk in-out. So
okay,
people are accessing this disk more frequently, okay? When they
okay,
access like thousands, in case if you have an application, if 100 users access it at one time, you will
okay.
have some pressure.
More
Like
return
when a
rate.
thousand users access at the same time, then it will lead to performance issue, right?
Yes,
So what we can do?
we increase the CPU or
Disk
disk.
IO. It
We
is
will check
not
the disk
CPU.
usage.
It is
Yeah,
not disk.
we'll
Yeah.
check the disk usage. So how
No.
much?
We Disk usage is different from IO, right? IO is input output. Input output means
Maybe
like
okay.
how fastly the disk can process this one.
Read and write.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that.
okay, let's consider this one. Okay. Why it is having high disk IO?
So if many people are accessing the same particular disk,
Correct.
then there will be a high
Because many
disk
people are
IO.
accessing the same disk,
Same.
right? Why they are accessing
Hmm.
this one? Many people
Which
are
means they,
accessing this one. Why?
in order to upload or download or gathering some
No,
details from the particular logging in. Okay, logging into the server. So
they are monitoring. Okay, because all the teams they will monitor, right? Like how their application is performing.
okay,
So what they will do? Everyone will try to access this one.
okay,
So what is the solution? So instead of keeping this in certain disk, we can use some centralized logging solution. Okay.
okay,
For example, we can use like ELK stack or else Fluentd or some monitoring applications so that everyone will be accessing those things. So anyway, they are configured in such a way to handle I input and output. So they can handle, but normal disk it cannot handle. Okay. In case if
okay.
you are having a Kubernetes cluster, so uh, the scenario is you have a Kubernetes application. Okay. So you have pod and then logs are stored here. Okay, logs. Okay, let's consider this as elk and then this as prometheus. Okay, both have logs in your server itself. Okay, then all the users they want logs. Okay, they will be trying to access this one. Like IO means like how much input and output this particular disk is able to serve. So this cannot have high input output, right? So what you can do, you can create some separate centralized logging system. Okay, like we have ELK stack and then Fluentd. Okay, these are like for logs. Okay, so this it can handle any number of IO. Okay, this is particularly designed for handling high IO. So no matter how many users try to hit this one, it will be able to access and it will be able to respond. Okay, so you can use a solution like this. Okay, so that you can minimize this issue.
So it is acting as a load balancing the traffic, or how can we consider it?
Which one?
The ELK.
No, like ELK will have these disks, okay? ELK will have these
Okay.
disks. So these
Hmm.
disks are like high performance disks, okay?
Okay.
So that it can handle any number of requests. Okay, right.
Okay.
Let's see if we have any documentation so that it will be clear. Where is this one?
Normally SSDs will have
Yeah,
high
SSDs will have, but
10,000 to
this is like
50,000.
production, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's consider AWS. So if you see here, we have like different disks. Okay, so we have something called IO2 block express. So it has high performance block storage with up to 256,000 IOPS per volume. Okay, so if you see like how much speed it can provide, 256,000 IOPS per second. Per second, it can handle 256,000 requests. Okay, and then we have Amazon EBS general purpose SSD volume. So this can handle like 16,000 IOPS input outputs per second. So we have like different things, different disks which can handle at different rate. But if you want disks with high IOPS, then it will cost more. Okay. So similarly, you can configure based on the requirement. You can configure different disks. Okay.
Okay, understood.
Yeah. Okay, guys.